Hello, everybody. Welcome to Planet FPL, the world where everything revolves around Fantasy Premier League. My name's Suj.
And my name is James.
After kind of 3 weeks off, James, the world does revolve around Fantasy Premier League. We can talk about points. We can talk about actual teams scoring points or not scoring points.
You should.
What a sneeze.
Literally
what
15
timing.
Seconds in. What a guy.
Timing. The listeners didn't hear it, though, because I muted my microphone, James.
Well done. Well done.
But I just sneezed. Absolute great timing as we started the pod. But yes, we've got points to talk about.
Well, I'm not sure it does revolve around Fantasy Premier League, mate. I think it just revolves around flags at the moment, doesn't it?
Well, injuries definitely. We always talk about luck versus skill and the way that certain things fall. I could have made more transfers this week than I needed to. Like I had Trent sitting on my bench flagged and things like that, right? I just thought, let me leave it, let me ride it out. When I didn't go for Haaland in game week 29, that was a decision based on the fact that I didn't think he was a good choice and I didn't want to captain him. That's more of a decision rather than luck. So I'll take that bit of skill. But the fact that now he then got flagged, I didn't use my transfers. Gabriel got added to the flags. Possibly Isak's added to the flags. Excuse me. I'm having a mare as soon as we started recording.
Do you want to start again?
No, is luck. Like I've got the two most expensive defenders in the game in my team, and they're both flagged. But because I didn't rush into getting extra Palace and Newcastle last week, I've got the transfers to deal with it. So there is a little bit of luck that's fallen my way here.
Can I correct you on you having the two most expensive defenders in the game and saying that they're flagged? That's incorrect. They're both fucked.
Okay.
neither of them are going to be playing for a while, mate.
Yeah, I get it. And obviously I am going to sell them. It's just a case of timing of when. Now, Trent, I just put it off, but to add Gabriel into the mix changes what I can do strategically, right? With players like that out. When a player, the reason a lot of people wildcarded in 30 when they had the Haaland news was because leaving that much money in the bank or on the bench is very difficult. So you then want to spread it to kind of fix your team. The same's true for these two guys. Like, where am I going to go? I'm going to go down in price, which means I've got money to spread elsewhere. For Arsenal, for example, I could go sideways to Saliba, but the whole point is then Arsenal are no longer desirable without Gabriel there because I reckon they're going to start seeing goals.
You could go two enabling defenders. How many free transfers you got now?
This week I'm rolling. I've got four.
Four, right. So
it was four or five. Four.
You could go to something. You could, in theory, go like double Newcastle defence or like Livramento Burn. Put like 4 odd million in the bank and go like Semenyo to Saka.
Yeah, or Bowen to Saka. Bowen's got the home fixture and Semenyo's again, they're against each other. So if I was going to keep one, I would keep Bowen. But the rest of my defenders ain't great. Rico Lewis obviously hasn't been starting. He's got a tough fixture. I think Munoz has got a tough fixture with Brighton. And Mikalenko's got a tough fixture at Arsenal. So, but I'll play the Newcastle guys this week. So then I can muck around with it. I've got options here. I just need to figure out what they are. But yeah, flags for people. It's really frustrating because when you wildcard, you're kind of looking to set your team up for a few weeks, and when you get injuries like that, it's unfortunate.
So what did you score this week, mate?
Well, as it stands at the moment, I'm on 46 with Cole Palmer to go. Should Cole Palmer not turn up, only the 11 points.
Maresca said yesterday he can play 90 minutes, so he's fine.
Only the 11 points from Morgan Rogers to come on in his place. So if Cole Palmer wants to step on a tennis ball or trip over or get the shits or whatever keeps him off, I don't mind. It's a red arrow, but it's like minimal, James. We're talking about like a couple of thousand places. So this week, having only used one transfer, not wild carded, no chips, to be keeping pace, I'm quite happy with that. Literally, the only returnees were my forwards. I had captaincy on Marmoush for a tidy 18-pointer. Evan Nielsen with an 8-pointer and Isak with an 8-pointer. Everywhere else is blanks. Flecken, Gabriel, Lewis, Munoz, Bowen, Salah, Semenyo. Sweet FA.
Do you know who the highest scoring player is in this game week at the moment?
Morgan Rogers,
No.
11.
There's one player got 12. That's it.
Asensio.
It is Marco Asensio.
I cheated, by the way, just in case the listeners are thinking, how did Suj figure that out? I looked on, I had it open in front of me. Asensio.
I don't think anyone was giving you that much credit, mate.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the highest scoring player of the game week? 12 points?
No, it's going to be Cole Palmer.
Yeah. And do you know why I know that?
Because he's playing your team.
Because I know where I'll be tonight.
The shed end. Is it shed end?
I'll be in the shed end, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping, like, I think I'm 2 or 3 points off safety or something. If I keep track with the grey arrow, I'm happy. 4 free transfers to fix this mess out. The only annoying thing is that it's like 24 hours to make decisions rather than having a week to plan it out. But options galore.
Okay. For me, 37 points. Returns from, I bought Marmoush for Wood, as you had. Returns from Marmoush, Isak, and Vardiol's clean sheet. That's it. I've got a little bit more to go tonight. I've got Cole Palmer, but I've also got Levi Colwill. He's going to come into my team to replace Justrin Kluivert. If Palmer suddenly something happened to him today, I've got Nkunku would also come in. I changed Colwill and Nkunku in the order of them on the bench after the Kluivert news on Wednesday that he was Tuesday that he was a doubt. Because looking around at what other Chelsea fans were saying was they all think that Nkunku won't start tonight. So I've changed that around. I backed Chelsea for a clean sheet in my predictions. So do you know who's probably going to end the game week as the highest scoring player, Suj?
Nkunku.
It's not Cole Palmer. It's Christopher Nkunku. And do you know why I know that? Because I'll be in the shed end tonight.
The pessimism, James, the pessimism. I've got 13 points on my bench as it stands now, with 2 zeros on there. What have you got on your bench right now?
Well, Castagne is 1 point. That's it.
Okay, so let's see if your bench can beat mine with 12 points on there from Nkunku. The truth is, you and me both want Levi Colwill to do crap today, right? It helps me get closer to you, and it means if he does crap, Spurs might have scored some goals.
Yeah,
so...
I mean, I'm on 37 points. I hope that's all out. That'll do.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's not been the craziest high-scoring game week, has it, particularly?
No, and obviously flag picked up in my case. Isak is flagged at the moment. I think he'll be okay. My intention, actually, subject to what's said in the next 36 hours or so, is actually to captain him in game week 31, bearing in mind they go to Leicester. Salah goes to Fulham. Fulham just doesn't feel like I want to captain the player. So I always say with Salah, I need a good enough reason to take him on. This feels like one, as long as I feel comfortable that Isak is either going to start or just not play at all. The fear, of course, is it's Leicester. Could they leave him on the bench and it's a 1-pointer if they need him for the final half hour or something? That would be the concern. Mind you, I'd back him to score in half hour against that team. So I do want to captain Isak this week. He's flagged. It sounds like Eddie Howe said he wasn't feeling 100% with his groin, so they took him off. Kieran Trippier also got flagged after the game last night because he was feeling cramp in his groin. So I suspect both players will be fine. Trippier does feel like an injury potentially waiting to happen, though. Now he gets regular injuries. You look at them playing United and Palace Sunday to Wednesday in game week 32 and think, that's the upside of the defender you probably want from Newcastle, but it feels like there's danger in that as well. Justrin Kluivert, Andoni Iraola had said on Tuesday afternoon, he said, he's a doubt. Then we had this journalist who sat in his car, who'd been in the press conference and said he's not injured. And I was like, so it's just fatigue related. Sod it, even if he's a sub, he'll come on. Didn't think it'd be the 0-pointer, but changed Colwill and Nkunku around just in case it was. And then they said after the game last night, actually was ill. So I'm guessing that he's fine. On Gabriel, Sorry, I'd seen him proper pull up with a hamstring. And Roger Cross from the Mirror's reporting this morning that he's going to be out of both games against Real Madrid. Which, as I said with Clates yesterday on the Clayton and James show, I think there's a good chance he won't play again this season. So Gabriel is a definite
hamstring.
sell. Yeah.
Quite a lot of wildcards were pulled in the end this week. When I was looking on live FPL, of the top 10K, 40%, and overall nearly 7% wildcards were pulled in Game Week 30. It's a large, significant number.
It's very understandable. A lot were planning 30 or 31 anyway. Yeah. I'd warned about the concern about 30 to then bench boost 33. We had a little bit more confidence than we thought we'd have on Monday following the cup games, although we still don't have this fixture announcement and confirmation. I was going
to say, we don't know what's happening.
We said I thought it would be Friday, and I think that's probably what it'll be, is you'll probably get the information tomorrow. I'd be staggered if you didn't have it by Saturday's deadline for those on wildcard now, by the way. I'd actually become concerned if it wasn't announced. I forgot my point there, Suj. Completely lost my train of thought.
Wildcard usage.
Wildcards. And obviously then people had what you said, like the Haaland situation. Also, you had people carrying through like Trents and Lewis Halls and other players injured. And you were looking at this week and thinking, well, Bournemouth are playing Ipswich, Crystal Palace are playing Southampton, Man City are playing Leicester. Fantastic. They're steaming to a load of that. Well, the Palace players, no one returned. And the the Bournemouth players was just Evan Nilsson, and you're the only bastard who still got him. Everyone who had him wildcarded him out to go Mateta, Marmoush, and Isak.
yeah, exactly that, right? Sometimes it falls your way. It hasn't fallen my way in the sense of I've made a lot of ground, but at least I haven't lost any ground. So, yeah.
Decision for me now is an important one. I would probably cover it now. Is assistant manager. So, as warned earlier this week, Villa beating Brighton was going to be a bit of a disaster if it happened, and great result for Villa last night, as we'll cover, no doubt. So that now means that Emery against Nuno, or Villa against Forest, we should say, is not a bonus. It's not a bonus because 7 minus 3 equals 4.
Yep.
And Glasner against Brighton is not a bonus because 12 take away 8 equals 4. So if you want a bonus this week, kids, you're looking at the Magic Man, Graham Potter, West Ham against Bournemouth, which I can tell you, spoiler, before he even opens his mouth, Suj is going to say, don't do that. Ruben Amorim against Manchester City. Probably best choice is probably Juric against Tottenham. No, it's not. I think the best choice if you're chasing the bonus is Potter, I think.
I was going to say there's two things to that I would add. Firstly, it's a home fixture. So there is, of the three that you mentioned there, he is the best choice. It's a home fixture. I think Saturday, 3:00, isn't it? So middle of the afternoon. I think it's an all right. If you really want to go for bonus, do it. But what are you going to do the week after, James? Because we go straight to Liverpool. So you're automatically booking yourself in for a transfer if you go to Potter, unless you really like living on the edge and think that that Liverpool game will be, of course, it will be a bonus. You think we got any chance at Anfield? Because the answer is no. So look, you got 2 bonus games there. If you really, really want to live on the edge. But look, Kudus was out, Tadiba's out. We're not playing well. I wouldn't go there. How would you feel if you did that, gambled it, and you got a 0? Awful.
Yeah.
I would rather the banker points of like Arsenal at home to Everton or something along those lines, than risking it for the big 20-pointer. It's not going to come in.
I'll add in, I have a little sneaky that Fulham might get something against Liverpool at the weekend, but I don't advise anyone does that either.
It's at Cottage or Anfield?
No, it's at Craven Cottage.
Yeah, I could see that more. Like, I'd chase that more than I would. And who do Fulham have the week after?
Well, then it's Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, so it doesn't follow great.
And none of them are...
the Chelsea game could be a bonus, subject to what happens in the next couple of weeks. And obviously Chelsea tonight being quite important.
There's 4 points between them. Yeah, yeah, it's not great. What are you thinking then? You're going to go safe?
Yeah. Yeah, I think...
Does that mean Arteta?
No, I think I'm going to go Eddie Howe.
Okay.
it feels like the right week to attack Newcastle just from an asset perspective. Anyway, I think the
And if
probably
you
top
leave it,
top of the
you might
agenda.
you'll get the double the week after.
So I think rather than trying to force the bonus, my idea at the moment would be go Eddie Howe, which the Gabriel injury opens up the money for me fairly comfortably now, because I had left exactly zero point 0.8 in the bank to go to Glasner or Emery. I think, in my opinion at the moment, is it would probably be a mistake to just continue with that. I think with Glasner now, the Bournemouth game in 33 is also probably not going to be a bonus because Bournemouth aren't in form. That was what we was really hoping, was you could get the dream scenario of the 5 fixtures all being bonus. I think to have those 2 at home games neither being bonus, great. It's like, okay, if they do win one of them, or even if they draw 2, it's like, right, great, that's gonna pick me up some bonus. But if I can just find someone else that's going to win 2 or 3, it's just the same thing. So you would hugely fancy Newcastle to win at Leicester, wouldn't you, on Monday night?
Hugely.
Exactly, you would. And by the way, in terms of bookies odds, the most likely team to win in game with 31, stop laughing at the back, is actually Tottenham. That's just by virtue of having Southampton at home. We would hugely fancy Eddie Howe away to Leicester. Then it's 2 home games in 4 days, which I think fall quite nicely in the sense that Manchester United will be 3 days after United's Europa League semi-final first leg away to Lyon. So it sits in between the quarterfinal, sits in between the 2 games with Lyon. So what's United's priority? Same as Tottenham, it's the Thursday night games. And Crystal Palace is the tougher one, arguably, but it's a weeknight. And as we now know, Crystal Palace only playing the sunshine. So if it's a night game, the sun's gone down. So I'm quite happy to have Newcastle for that as well. Then looking at how away to Villa in 33 is ugly. I think at that point I'm moving to Arteta and trying to take another 20 off of him for Ipswich away and Palace at home. And because I would have no Arsenal coverage at all anyway. So am I better off using the transfer under that circumstance to go to the Arsenal manager doubler, or just another Arsenal player? I mean, I'll still probably go Saka as well. But like, rather than trying to force in like a Saliba, it feels like there's more upside in trying to put in Arteta. So I'm probably going to go Howe 31, 32, and then move it on to Arteta 33. It's dull, it's boring. It's not the way I wanted to do it. I really wanted to go for Glasner or Emery, but I truthfully don't think that Glasner or Emery across this period would match that combination. I look at that Howe and Arteta,
5
and I think
fixtures there, 8
minimum
per
30,
fixture.
isn't it?
Yeah, and probably 40 to 45. If it goes well
that's
for you,
probably
40
best
to
case.
45.
Yeah,
but somewhere between 30 and 40, 45 is fine. There's a range to
the worst case scenario feels better, but obviously the trying to chase Glasner could be like 60. Like, for example, feels like it's gone.
It's not going to happen. Yeah, not going to happen.
No, even factoring as well, like if the Arsenal Palace fixture does go into 33, I think they pick a rotated team at Arsenal in that game as well. So that makes that fixture better for Arsenal even than it looks on paper as well. The gap to the Ipswich game will be 4 days after the second leg against Real Madrid. That feels okay. I don't think, if they've gone out, they've got no reason to rotate. Just play the team for the rest of the season, isn't it? If they beat Madrid, it might make me put the brakes on of going Arteta. By the way, just a little note for people, and I know people will be activating the assistant manager this week. Don't rush it, guys. Please wait till like at least Friday night. I totally get if you want to go Friday night and then wait for like, because you think, I might sleep in Saturday morning or something like that. Fine. But get all the information. What you're going to do, you activate now, and then Eddie Howe sits there tomorrow and goes, the whole team's got the shits.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's no point rushing it. There's no price change or nothing. Just wait. And then when you want to lock it in on Friday, by all means do so. So I think that's the route I'm going to take. Other considerations, Ange is one. I think he is, because I think if you look across the next 2 weeks, if you're not looking at Newcastle, you are thinking, well, Tottenham do have Southampton and Wolves. Now, the problem is Tottenham got shit all to play for in the league. But if Tottenham show up, you would still expect whatever team we put on the pitch to win on Sunday, I think. I might feel differently tomorrow after tonight. Come on, you do expect Tottenham to beat Southampton on Sunday.
Tomorrow, yes. Wolves, I think...
Yeah, I get that.
I don't think Wolves, I would like it, the Wolves game, because I saw them firsthand. They're not as bad as the league table suggests.
Get it. The Forest game in 33 will obviously be bonus. and it's not till the Monday. So it is at least it's 4 days after the second leg in Frankfurt
Yeah,
as
but I
well.
take the five that you mentioned. How Arteta will outscore Ange comfortably.
Yeah, my life does not need to be going Ange Postecoglou, by the way. So I don't have any confidence in those who are available for bonus this week, I don't think there's enough upside now in Emery or Glasner. So I'm going to go the boring route, I think, I'm afraid. Sorry. And the Gabriel injury, ironically, really opens up the money to make it quite straightforward. He does rule me out of going Trippier, but I don't think it's going to take that route anyway. So I think it's probably going to be Livramento. I think I know a lot of people already went him on wild card. I'll have a think about him versus Dan Burn. Dan Burn's on 8 yellows. Should be fine now, unless he got booked 2 games in a row. But I don't know if I need to take that risk. So probably Livramento. Newcastle a bit light in the fullback area. It's more likely Trippier would get rotated, I think, than Livramento at this stage. So it feels like a safe one. That's probably where I'll go. And it
You
might
don't
be a
fancy
long.
Fabian Schär or just too much money? You're thinking
It's not worth it. It's.
he
I
scores
mean,
the odd
it
goal
plays.
from range and
He
stuff.
does, but I don't think it'd be worth it. I need to think of looking further. It's like, oh, I've got Nkunku there, right? I might need to have a little bit available to be able to get rid of that, or if there is a problem with Justrin Kluivert, get rid of that. So, yeah, I think it'd probably be Livramento. There's a chance I don't add any more Palace on this route now. Quite possible. Subject to how many more flags I pick up in the next 3 or 4 days, I think, Suj.
Okay, let's see. Going to get into the games, James. A couple of public service announcements. Do you want to start with what we've got content-wise over the next 2 days, because it is a quick turnaround until the next deadline?
Yeah, me and Clates will be doing wildcard for 31 tomorrow, same as what you and I did, obviously, on Tuesday. We're now going to focus at 31. I'll get Clayton's opinion on assistant manager. We'll bring that back up again as well. Deadline stream on YouTube is at 10 a.m. UK time tomorrow. As a consequence, doing the wildcard pod. No Ask James this week. It is on Patreon today, scheduled for 3:30 p.m. UK time in the afternoon. We also have our game week 31 preview podcast on air tomorrow. If you want to support the show, it's www.patreon.com/Planet FPL. And if you want to support Suj's boredom in Portugal at the moment,
What makes you think it's boredom?
I don't know, you're
It's been
inviting people
pretty
over for
rainy.
a piss up.
It's pretty rainy. It's not a piss up. I
We've
thought I'd
got
give another
no
shout out.
rain predicted and just pure sunshine for the next week, boss.
Really, we had a little
100%.
bit of a storm yesterday, but I should say it doesn't normally rain a lot here, and it is sunny, and it will be sunny in October, James. So I wanted to give a shout out.
It won't be here, I'm sure.
It definitely
That
won't
means
be in most
don't back
parts of
Palace
Europe.
in
it won't be.
October, kids.
Nah, definitely not. So some of the regular listeners will know I'm into my MMA and jiu-jitsu and all of those kind of combat sports. We're organising a jiu-jitsu training camp in October with a couple of elite coaches coming over from the UK to train for 4 days. And so I thought I'd put it out to the listeners, if there's anybody that trains jiu-jitsu or wants to or knows people that do, we've got a website, algarvebjjcamp.com. You can go and have a look, but just DM me. Yes, that's a different camp I'm organising, James. I'll let you have that one in your DMs.
Thanks God you said the second J, mate.
Yeah, head over to that. But if you're interested in training jiu-jitsu in October and you want to come out to the Algarve in the sun, just drop me a DM on Twitter at Sushishar, and I'll send you all the info and stuff. Or if you know anybody that is, it's only 40 or 50 people that we're going to have over in the sunshine in October when it's raining anywhere else. And you never know, out of the thousands of listeners we have, James, some of them might like a scrap. So they might be interested. There's discount codes for all of you. So yeah, drop me a message. Done.
Will you actually look at your messages?
I will. That's the only reason I'll sign into X. But other than that, I will not. But I will be logging into X. Obviously, if you're a patron, you can message me on Slack. James is looking at something.
Yeah, sorry, I just saw quite a yeah.
Fixture announcement. No,
No,
not as exciting
no,
as that.
it's not. It's UK have been confirmed that they're going to host Women's World Cup 2035. Nothing to do with FPL at this moment.
It's
Shall
still
we?
10 years away, but that'll be
Shall
tidy. Talk about the games.
Yeah, and 2031 is going to be in US/CONCACAF. Yeah, let's do the game. Sorry.
Cool, cool, cool. Arsenal 2, Fulham 1. I suppose the headlines here, obviously, Saka coming off the bench and scoring, but that's good news for those that decided to gamble on him. Gabriel crocked, so everybody's going to be looking to move him on. Once Gabriel had gone off croc, though, I did enjoy seeing the Fulham goal, James, because it wiped out the clean sheets for anybody that still had Raya or Saliba or anybody else. That was very helpful as a Gabriel owner to have all of those other clean sheets wiped out. But yeah, I think the main thing is Saka. It's a question of when now, isn't it, with Saka? I'm possibly going to just do it this week.
I was into buy. Clates isn't convinced. We spoke about it quite a bit on the Clayton James shares. Clates isn't convinced he starts on Saturday either. I think he will, personally, although I would also add the caveat that I thought he would start on Tuesday night as well. I compared it to the Mickey van der Ven scenario of don't leave yourself kind of sitting on the bench recovering from a hamstring injury. You're better off starting the game and coming off early. That's not how Arsenal have judged it. It's obviously a different scenario. I think he probably will start on Saturday, but I wouldn't be throwing it into my team at this moment. I guess if Cole Palmer got injured tonight, probably by default, I'm going to be like, well, I'll end up going Saka in a few weeks anyway. But I would maybe take a course and go, actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm going to go Anthony Gordon now if he was past fit, and then go, right, I'll come back for Saka in 33. I might take that sort of path instead, maybe. Or a Palace player is still fine if you want to go there. So I think, yeah, my idea is Palmer to Saka 33. It feels like everyone on wildcard went one or the other.
Yes.
As in Palmer or Saka,
so.
I think.
Yeah.
That's how it felt. Some have gone with both.
Held Palmer.
Clates went Saka, put him straight in, left him on the bench, which I guess was the right call because he didn't think he'd start. It's obviously ended up with an 8-pointer, which is great. It's a huge boost to Arsenal to have him back, obviously. They are obviously going to, I guess there's a chance as well. Could he not play Brentford in game week 32 as well? I mean, that's still a possibility here, isn't it? That Saka might not start a league game until game week 33. I think historically we've always gone, if he's fit, he plays, right? Adam Pritchard's famous words, if he's got one leg, he'll play kind of gig. But
not with Real Madrid.
If the Brentford game looks irrelevant in between the Real Madrid games, plus what's different now to historically is, well, now he's had a bad hamstring injury, so you're being a bit more cautious with him. So I would not be running after him. I wouldn't be running after any Arsenal player, particularly at this moment. I know a few people have said about Marino, like, how many times are we going to let him score as an OOP forward? Well, there's a chance here because Jurian Timber's a doubt as well that Thomas Partey goes to right back. And again, as discussed yesterday, they drop Marino back into a midfield role and then bring Trossard in to play as the 9. I think they'll rotate a bit Saturday, won't they? So I wouldn't be chasing Kivior. I wouldn't. If people want to go Gabriel to Saliba and that's their, I've got to have some Arsenal defensive coverage, I'm not going to put you off. I think if you're wildcard in 34, you'll probably get away with it with Kivior, but I wouldn't want to take a chance on Kivior or Timber at the moment. It would just be Saliba, or I'd look elsewhere.
I'm going to end up with, if I obviously once I've sold Trent and Gabriel, I'm going to end up with so much money, as you mentioned earlier, that Saka might just be the default. Because what I'm going to do, leave the money in the bank. I may as well get him Everton away, right? And yes, he may not get minutes. He may play only part of the Brentford game, but Ipswich after that, I think there'll be enough in the next 3 or 4 that'll be worth it. Trust me, I'm going to enjoy looking at Saka in my squad so much more than I'm going to enjoy looking at Semenyo in my squad because he has been a flop and a half. So I'll do it just for my mental health, to be honest with you. But I get your point there.
So you're going to sell Semenyo before he plays West Ham?
Yes. I don't care. Do it, Semenyo, score a hat-trick, whatever. I'm going to enjoy getting you out of my FPL team. Yeah, I can see why there's nervousness around clubs like Arsenal who've got these European games, Spurs, United, that kind of thing. But he's come back and he's returned, so he will be popular. I think we talked about him before the deadline for the differential team that we do with the patrons at being below 10%. He's nearly 14.5 now, so he's picking up ownership rapidly.
Oh, no doubt. And I think Palmer to Saka in 33 will be a default move for quite a lot, as already discussed. So his ownership will be strong by 33. People captain him in 33.
Yep.
Like there's not, for those with the doubles, it's probably at the moment 33 Saka v Marmoush, isn't it? Probably. for
Yeah.
captaincy.
Yep.
So I guess that depends how we feel about Marmoush when we get there. But
Yeah.
if it's Saka away to Ipswich and then what might be a weakened Crystal Palace in that game week, that's going to really appeal. So yeah, I don't foresee me not ending up with Bukayo Saka in game with 33, but I'm not in a rush to do it. And it's a little bit like what I've been saying with Man City at the moment in terms of only Vardiol and Marmoush appealing to me. Right now with Arsenal, it would only be Saliba, Saka with concerns, and
Maybe
Raya.
Raya. Yeah.
And Raya.
That's it.
Otherwise, I'd be ignoring that. I think by default, for those on wildcard this week, if you want to go free Arsenal, that just becomes the Arsenal free. I think the
Yep.
Marinos, the Trossards, Martinellis, it's not a chance I particularly want to take, actually.
No one's looking at Fulham before Liverpool, despite you thinking they might get something there. But
No.
they've got tricky fixtures even after that. Then Bournemouth away is not never an easy game. Chelsea after that. Those wildcarding or free hitting in 34. So either wildcarding to fix your team or free hitting in 34. Southampton away will be of interest, but it's one of those. We'll worry about it when we get there.
Yeah, there might be a case from someone like me who's wild carding in 34 that I go, yeah, do you know what? I'll get a defensive one in for, say, Southampton away 34, Everton at home 36, and combine it with an Everton player who has like Ipswich at home 35 and Southampton at home 37. And I might go dirt cheap on that, something like Anderson and O'Brien, for
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Neither have got a great fixture in 38, it's worth saying, but I might look at something like that. But I don't see me in 34, so just going for Jimenez or Munez or Smith Rowe or anything like that, even though it's walking straight into Southampton. I don't think so. I don't think if I'm going to take a 1 week punt there, I'm more likely to take it still on a Newcastle player. I think because Newcastle then have some difficult fixtures after 34 as well. So, yeah, they're right off agenda. I think if you're a Robinson owner, you've either already sold or you've got glances elsewhere. And if you are setting to free hit in 34, there's little reason to have a Fulham player at this moment. Muniz
Okay.
should have scored before the one that he did
I mean,
eventually score.
it's a few games now he's scored where he's coming off the bench and returning and stuff, banging on the door. I feel like if he can't break into that Fulham team, they might sell him in the summer, and there'll be plenty of interest in Muniz for sure.
Depends if they're going to reinvest. There has been some speculation about Marco Silva moving on in the last few days as well. And that's not a direct link to what we discussed about Tottenham yesterday. It's just a
Yeah.
suggestion that he may want to look at a different challenge this year, actually.
Yep. Let's talk about Wolves 1, West Ham United 0. I had to force myself to sit through this, James. It was not a great game of football. Wolves definitely deserved to win the game. I mean, they were the more aggressive. They showed the more intent. They had more about them. Having said that, West Ham should have got a draw with the chances that they missed. Ferguson missed the sitter. Emerson, when he'd come on, had a great chance. Soucek at the end should have scored. If West Ham had nicked this 2-1, it would have been absolute robbery. If we'd have gotten a draw, it would have probably been on the balance of chances, maybe fair, but over the course of 90 minutes, Wolves deserve to win this.
Yeah, that's fair. Can't argue that from the bits I saw. Another goal for Larson.
Yeah, seems in good form.
Yeah, he would be. And I think him and Cunha might both kind of get a little bit of interest, particularly in the running. Big game for them at Ipswich at the weekend. So if they did lose, it's down to 6 points. But I look at the games they've got left and I think, no, there's enough point. Wolves probably need maybe 2 wins. They've got Leicester at home still to go. They've got Tottenham at home, Brighton
They've got one
at
of the
home,
best
Brentford at
run-ins,
home.
yeah. Like Ipswich, they'll give a good game. Spurs, they'll give you a tough game. United, Leicester. Over the next 4, they've got really good. And City is tough. Brighton, Palace, Brentford for the run-in is difficult. But if you're wildcarding in 34 and you wanted something for the next 3, the only thing is they don't have a double. But I don't know what you would consider an enabler there, but what, an Agbadu or something to chuck in?
Yeah,
Strand Larson is enabler territory at 5.3 as well. I just think with Mateta, Isak, Marmoush, there's better options, right?
I think if they had a better fixture in game week 33, they'd be quite popular at the moment. I just think there's so many people heading towards, say, like a bench boost 33 and looking at it going, do I want a bench boost or like Agbadu away to Manchester United? And despite what you think about United, it doesn't feel great. It doesn't inspire, right? But their fixtures to the end of the season are good. And I think unless you're looking at bench boost 33, you probably really should be on radar in the back of your mind, like something like Agbadou to go, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to move this Gabriel money to Agbadou and I'm going to spread it. And it might be the difference that gets you, say, from Kluivert to Saka in 33 or something like that. Yeah, look at it. Eight Nori obviously is more expensive, but if you've got the luxury and money doesn't matter, I would probably pay the extra. Larson, he's obviously a decent option, but Cunha will return in 32. Cunha is going to be really popular, I think, in 34 when they play Leicester and possibly for the run in. So, as someone who's going to wildcard in 34, I'm going to find it difficult not to put him in just for that fixture alone, I think. So, going back to your point about like Jimenez or Muniz, am I 1 week punting them or 1 week punting Cunha against Leicester? It's going to end up being that, isn't it? So,
Yep.
yeah, there's a few Wolves ones. Jose Sa, a little bit maybe of interest. Their fixtures to the end of the season are pretty good. It's just the fact they've got United away 33 and City away 35 is a little bit off-putting and roundabouts to strategies. But yeah, more interest than West Ham.
Yeah, I mean, for
But
bench boost 33
West
though,
Ham's much better for that. Yeah.
for that Southampton at home game, like Jared Bowen, he's got 15 attacking returns in 26 starts this season. He's every other game he'll pick you up an assist or a goal. He's still talismanic. It's just whether or not you consider a return every other week fair from a 7.6 million midfielder. I'm not going to move him on before 33 because I think he'll be part of a bench boost squad that will be fine. But after that, I think he is expendable for me. I'm going to definitely hold on to him. Two of the next home games, Bournemouth, Southampton, fine. Liverpool away, he'll end up being benched, no doubt. Yeah, with the reason to get benched against Liverpool, obviously triple Palace, triple Newcastle, because they've got a double, doesn't leave as many spare spots in the 11. But yeah, I just don't see enough that I'd say like, oh yeah, you really need to. West Ham are not your saviours of a bench boost 33. Trust me.
Well, the thing is, if you don't own Jared Bowen, as an example, it's interesting because I think your final six fixtures are pretty good, starting with that Southampton game in game week 33. But I think the reality is, if people want to buy specifically in 33, they don't buy Bowen.
Yep.
You don't go, oh, Southampton. I'm going to go, I need Disney. I want Rashford because he might double. And even though it's tougher fixtures, people won't buy Bowen, I don't think. And for those who need to carry through, I think it should be considered strongly. I think if you're going defensively, I think the only one you can buy at the moment is Kilman.
You don't think Wan-Bissaka?
Yes. So him as well.
Okay.
I was thinking about the centre back specifically. I don't.
Yeah, no, forget the others.
Wan-Bissaka over Kilman.
I'd just go Wan-Bissaka. Second, yes, Kilman. Other than that, avoid everything else. Cool.
Yeah,
Should we talk about
so.
Forest?
Do we know why Kudus missed out?
Injured. I don't
Badly,
know
or
specific. No, I don't think so. Hopefully, he should be back.
How did young boy Glenn play left wing? He got taken off at half time, didn't he?
All right, average. No one played well from West Ham. So, yeah, he didn't stand out, but then no one did. So, not particularly pointing the finger at him. You've got to point the finger at the whole team.
Okay.
Let's move it on. Nottingham Forest 0.48, Manchester United 1.63. Nottingham Forest 8, Manchester United 23. Nottingham Forest 32, Manchester United 68. Nottingham Forest 1, Manchester United 0. This is classic Forest, isn't it? All day long. I didn't watch the game. You watched the game. I was poking pins in my eyes as in the game that we just talked about. At the end of this, did Forest deserve to win it?
Probably not, no.
Okay.
But the longer it went on, I know Maguire had the big chance right at the end, but the longer it went on, the more comfortable they were. Like, actually, in the opening sort of half hour or so, I think United were the better side. But then once Nuno had obviously Olareina get injured, we don't know the prognosis on that yet, and he switched to the back five and he went more for 5-4-1 because there had been quite a narrow 4-3-2-1, then the game was a bit more comfortable for them, I thought. So it got better. Game state has a lot to do with that. They were winning. I don't know if you'd have made that change if the game had still been 0-0. He openly said himself, Nuno, that a point in that first half, they were on the ropes. So he acknowledged that himself. So great result for them, though. They ain't going to give a shit at the moment about anything other than results, and I don't blame them at all because that's all that matters. They're going to do it. They're going to do that top five. Their fixtures to the end of the season are good. I would note concern for them this week because Villa have hit a bit of form and they go there, as discussed yesterday with Clates, with a kind of real fullback headache because Aina's injured. I'm going to presume out as it was a non-contact injury, and Alex Moreno is ineligible. So I don't know if they're going to play Harry Toffolo at fullback. I suspect that they might go to a back five. Hudson-Odoi missed out due to personal reasons. We don't obviously know whether he's going to be back available this weekend or not. Wood, I doubt, will be available. So a few injuries have picked up recently and a few little issues. It's a bit concerning, but I still think they'll do enough with the games that they've got left for the rest of the season to finish in the top five. But I wouldn't be surprised if they got beat at the weekend, which is what makes the whole Emery non-bonus thing really annoying, because I think that was really appealing to people under the circumstance. Elanga's goal is great and will go down in history as one of the greatest ever assists of all time for Ryan Yates, who had an absolutely brilliant interview on TNT with Martin O'Neill and, sugar, I can't remember the young lady's name, after the game, where he spoke about Yates had played under O'Neill and they talked a bit about shithousery and stuff like that. And he joked about the assist because all we did was head it out from a corner, right? And Elanga's run the whole length of the pitch. And I have to say, sorry, we'll put a trumpet up my bum here, guys, but when people were looking for Kluivert replacements on Tuesday on the deadline stream, that's the name that kept coming up, was actually Elanga will work for you. And I think it really works for those who are looking at the bench boost 32. I think if I was wildcarding now and bench boosting 32, he'd be going in, because I'd be looking at thinking, I don't need to worry about that for the rest of the season. And I think that's really competitive around the likes of Rodgers at the same value and stuff. I really like Anthony Elanga, and I think there's a few on wildcard who might be looking back a little bit of regret. So don't look back, Elanga. I heard you say.
I mean, prior to the last two games where he scored 11 and 16, he did blank 4 games in a row.
Yeah, but his position has changed a little bit recently, isn't it?
Yeah, prior to that, he had the 3 assists. He doesn't score a lot of goals, James. It is a lot of assists, but he has scored 3 in the last 2. I would just say don't get too blinded with recency bias. But again, he's 5.4 million. So
I wouldn't buy him this week, by the way. Like, if there's a case to say, if I was wildcarding this week and putting him in, I'd probably even be benching him this week away to Villa. But I think for the rest of the season, that's pretty good. You'd be comfortable playing him, I think, in every game after this weekend.
The game week 32 would be what? Battle of the low blocks against Everton. Going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, but you'd still, I think, if that's your attacking player on your bench for as part of a bench boost, I think that's reasonable, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, at that point, no problem at all.
For United, take encouragement from it is what I would say. As I said, I think they struggled the longer it went on. It was interesting. Fernandes started in a higher position. I said with Clates yesterday, I was surprised that Højlund didn't start because he scored at Leicester. It felt like an opportunity to try and put some confidence in him. I think it just shows us that Amram doesn't truly fancy him. And a few players come back from injury as well. I think Dorgu is one maybe to keep an eye on who might solve a problem for bench boosters 33. And I think if you are looking at single game week players for 33, you are drawn to look at them a bit, because as discussed already this week, the teams with singles in 32 from players who you might bench boost with look way better to me in 32 than they do in 33. If I was wildcarding this week, I'd be setting the bench boost in 32. But those who are intent on doing it on 33 will be drawn to look at United. I would try and leave that decision as late as possible. 1, it's City Newcastle in the next 2, so there's no reason to dive into that. And 3, obviously they play Lyon on the Thursday night before Wolves. So if you were thinking, I'll put someone like Dorgu in now, thinking you're going to bench boost with that in 33, yeah, good luck knowing that he's going to start against Wolves on the Sunday. It's not like they don't have Dalot and they can push Matsurawi back to wing back. They've got players coming back from injury rather than a few other teams are suffering more problems. United are actually getting the players back. Luke Shaw might even be back by that point as well in 33. So I'd argue be leaving that spot open to take it as a 1 week punt. But again, as per the West Ham example, if you leave it to 33, I just think naturally you buy a doubler instead.
Yep.
So they're kind of off radar. And I think Fernandes owners, those who still have, will be looking elsewhere at the moment.
Bournemouth 1, Ipswich 2. I mean, good result for Ipswich here to go to Bournemouth and win, isn't it?
considering they had a few issues as well, right? I've not seen quite what the situation is, but Leif Davis and Murray Hutchinson both missed out last night as well. So they had a few issues, and Connor Townsend, ironically, plays a brilliant one too with Liam Delap for Ipswich's second goal. I love how he just smashes it in. He's such a pure striker of a footballer. There is some speculation, Suj, that he has a release clause of 40 million if Ipswich are relegated.
Cheap.
Well, that'll have a queue, won't it?
People swarm around
Put it this way.
I mean, the release clause is 40. It's the bidding's going to drive that up.
But
as in, if you come in at 40 to release him, someone else will come in at 50 or 55 or 60. Like,
but it don't matter. Delap at that point can choose to go to the club that pays 40, mate. So I don't think Ipswich won't get more than that.
Is that how it would work? It's not a case of 40. If one person comes in at 40, they have to accept it.
No, just hypothetically, let's say you bid 40 million and it gets accepted, and then Tottenham come in with 50, and then Delap goes, well,
they still have to accept
Solanke's there. I want to go to West Ham. As far as I'm concerned, that will happen.
The 40 would still happen.
As far as I'm aware,
I guess. Yeah. Okay.
He's a super talent. He's going to be a hot transfer in the summer. By the way, there's every chance he'll end up somewhere like Chelsea. I wouldn't be surprised, actually.
That's true for every player, James. Just saying.
That's another podcast.
Yeah.
Big game for them at the weekend. Look, if they did beat Wolves, they narrowed the gap to 6 points. And the good news for them afterwards is their next 3 fixtures afterwards are Chelsea away, Arsenal at home, and Newcastle away. Right, I'm afraid to say this really isn't going to make much of a difference. I think there's too much of a gap in it. I'm not even convinced that they'll beat Wolves at the weekend. I think actually since Pereira took over, Wolves would be top half on points. I think I saw that. I think it'd be like 9th. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's right. Yeah, I wouldn't be looking at Ipswich with the fixtures coming up. And Bournemouth fall into the sell category now, I think. You're beginning to look.
You can ride out one more week.
Well, I don't think it's a necessity, right? So take someone like me with Kluivert, I'm probably just going to end up running with it because I don't have the luxury of moving that on. But I think now, say like those who've just wildcarded in 30 would have gone, do I really want to take out my Kirkeses and stuff like Evan Nilsson and stuff like that when they're playing Ipswich? Right, but if you're wildcarding this week, that's easy to do, I think. It's not to say these guys have to be binned. I just think you take a different approach. You wouldn't invest in them new now.
I'd be taking Ismail Sarr, or Ez if you had the money, or Jacob Murphy. Like I'd be taking one of those doublers over any of the Bournemouth midfielders moving forward now. I'd be taking Mateta over Evan Nilsson if I'm moving forward now. I'd be taking one of the Newcastle defenders over Howson or Kirkes if I was buying now. They're all, there's better options everywhere really than Bournemouth players. But again, like you said, if it's not something you need to force, it's also okay. Well, West Ham this week is fine.
They also may have hit a bit of a wall, though. Bournemouth is 1 point from the last 5. You can all guess who that was against. They should have won that day, in fairness. But they also lost at Brighton. The last 3 home games: Wolves, Brentford, Ipswich, no points.
Yep.
Where would they be if they had 9 points on the board from that? So I think Champions League is gone for them. They still qualify for Europe. They've still got stuff to play for, no doubt. But it might be they've hit a bit of... They run so hard. It might be they've hit a little bit of fatigue. Is quite possible here. I think Kluivert will play at weekend, would be my guess. If he's been ill, you think he probably plays. Let's see what Iriola says tomorrow. But the moment to buy new is gone for them, and I wouldn't suddenly be chasing Ipswich, although it is obviously a very good result. It sounds like probably deserved it. Scored 2 good goals. Yep.
Brighton 0, Aston Vanilla 3. I mean, going to the Amex is never easy, and 3-0 is a great result. No big chances in the game for Brighton at all, so they didn't really rack up a huge XG, whereas Villa were clinical, and they've done well. Morgan Rogers is going to have been on a lot of benches, isn't he, this week with Brighton away with other fixtures that people had, and he's racked up 11-pointer again. I think we'll look back on this season and think, do you know what? Where we talked about £5 million or £4.5 million players in the past, he's up there. He's done well. 124 points. What can he hit? 150, 160, easy?
Yeah, I mean, a very unusual first assist from him because it's such a direct ball over the top. It's quite interesting when Rodgers plays the ball. Rashford's not even looking. Rashford's thinking, I'm about to go offside, but I'm still in my arse. He's not even looking at the ball and he sees it coming. I'm in here. It's quite interesting. The second assist for Asensio is beautifully taken. Really disappointing week for Brighton to play those two really important home games across Forest in the Cup and then Villa and not score at all. As you said, no big chances created last night. It's not the first time a team's pulled away from them at the Amex this season. I think about similarities with the Crystal Palace game in December. Palace definitely deserved to win that one. Looks like once Villa obviously got in front last night, and it should have had a penalty in the first half, by the way, as well. I don't know why that wasn't given on Ramsey. They've obviously been absolutely ruthless on the break towards the end. The 3 goal scorers all joined Villa on loan in January. That's a rare one,
it's
isn't
incredible, isn't it? I'm sure. I mean, United let Rashford go for a reason, and it wasn't working there for him. But he seems to be finding some sort of rhythm.
I think both these teams remain of real interest for FPL. So I think for those who are aiming to bench boost in 32, for Bruggen, you've got Leicester at home, right? For Bruggen, Lewis Dunk at 4.2 is like a gift for that.
Yep.
Minter, I think, will be back in 5.1 offensively, and João Pedro 5.6. Like they could all be part of a bench that is bench boostable in 32. It's a case to say if you're wildcarding now and bench boosting 32, maybe even stick a few of them in, possibly. If you're aiming towards 33, less so. But I think Brighton's fixtures between now and 36 are pretty good, actually, that you could use if you need. I'd certainly be looking at Dunk at 4.2 if I was on wildcard at the moment. And Villa obviously really appeal. Forest at home this week. We've spoken it might be weak. And Southampton away 32 and then what we expect to be a double in 33. However, the concerns about 32 and 33 are on rotation. Southampton falls 3 days after PSG and 3 days before PSG. And 33 obviously could be Newcastle Saturday, Man City Tuesday, and then an FA Cup semi-final Saturday that may be before a Champions League semi-final on the Tuesday. That's the concern here, isn't it? The concern is minutes. However, Rodgers is indestructible, as covered. But he should not play at Southampton. That's all I can say to you. And Asensio and Rashford are finding ways to return anyway. I mean, Asensio is returning at more than attacking return a game since he joined the club. I think he's only started 4.
Wow.
He's the highest scoring player in FPL this week. So he's even returning off the bench. Some of these fixtures, like Southampton, you'd say, well, if I've got Asensio for half hour away to Southampton, that's better than most anyway. Not going to argue with the way Villa play. They have so many options that it's really complicated. That's the problem. And I think I'm largely just going to avoid. We should acknowledge that they've won their last 2 away games because we've been very critical of their away performances.
We'll criticise them some more so that they keep winning away games.
And that has also featured clean sheets in those 2 games against Brentford and Brighton as well. They're just about keeping themselves in contention for the top 5. Their fixture run is not too bad. I think they've got to beat Forest Saturday. They will drop points inevitably across what happens afterwards because there is too many fixtures. So when they've got a little bit of daylight here,
got to make the most of it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. We're talking about Brighton because they've got Leicester in game week 32. In a minute, we're going to talk about Newcastle because they've got Leicester this week. Let's talk about Leicester. Manchester City 2, Leicester 0. To be honest, this was a massive disappointment because for City to go 2-0 up after 25, 26 minutes whenever Marmoush scored, for Leicester to have to have 2 shots in the game and not draw a single save from the goalkeeper shows you how pathetic their attack is right now. 0.07 XG in the game, which shows they had nothing, James. They had nothing, yet City at the other end couldn't then take that 2-0 after 28 minutes and turn it into something more. They had chances, don't get me wrong, but I wanted more from Marmoush. I'll take my 9 points and run considering what kind of scores there have been this week. But after he scored the first, after 28 minutes or whatever it was, I did think one more return should be possible here, and they didn't deliver it. But on the other side, Leicester, target Leicester, yes. Target Leicester defensively, yes. When you joked about double Newcastle defence enablers...
I'm not joking.
Yeah, I get it. I didn't even think about it. And then I look at Leicester's stats like that and I'm actually, you know what? Yes, Like
They've
if,
scored
if I
in one
was,
football match since game week 20, Suj.
it's mad.
And that don't even
It's
count because you know who that was against.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the game before, like the last time they scored, the first game with Rude, they scored shitloads against us, but even that was a lucky win. Yeah, I'm not ruling out that move. Actually, I may just get one Newcastle, one Villa to kind of hedge, but yeah,
They
Leicester
are
no good.
absolutely dreadful. I mentioned this that Sam Martin, our Leicester correspondent, said this a few weeks ago. He said if we played Southampton at the moment, we would lose. I think he's probably right.
We'll talk about them in a minute as well.
Yeah, it's definitely no point having any form of Leicester conversation here other than target them. So yeah, Newcastle assets 31, Brighton assets 32, Liverpool assets 33, Wolves assets 34. So it's not rocket science this game, is it?
No,
And those who captain Marmoush, I guess are happy because he's obviously outscored Salah, but exactly what you said, disappointed that that's all it was. But I think he's going to continue to be a good asset going forward. No concerns whatsoever. I think he's regularly going to play the 9 position, Marmoush. I think he's largely going to be pretty safe for minutes, actually.
and we've
Whereas,
seen he can score goals, he can finish.
yeah, whereas the support cast behind it, yeah, for the Phil Foden owners, I don't know if he starts Sunday or not. You're going to
Yep.
assume that he does? Don't know. I think there's probably a case with the way Amrim sets up that he'll want to flood in central areas and may well push the fullbacks back on. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Vardy goes back to left back against United, for example. Although it sounds like Nico O'Reilly played quite well again last night. I think Kuzanov was probably just given a break. So I could see them going, yeah, Vardy and Nunes firming up the central and just feeling like they'll just completely overrun Manchester United in terms of numbers in that central area with Marmoush playing at the top of that. That would probably be good news for a Foden to play off maybe one of the wide positions, perhaps off the right, and then move into a more central area. But as I said prior to the game week starting, there's only 2 Man City players of interest to me. It was Vardy because of what it can be if he plays further forward on the left, and Marmoush. I've no interest in anything else, and I'd rather leave that decision to 33, assuming they double. If I want to take a punt on another one, then I will, but I doubt that I'll do, Suj.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I
It
do
might-
need to
it-
fix
it
my
might be-
Rico Lewis problem because he's a frustration. But I'll fix it on wildcard. I don't feel like I need to do it now.
Your
But if I
defence
was-
is proper ripped, isn't it? So you've got Trent, Gabriel, Lewis, Mikolenko.
Munoz and Munoz.
Okay, Munoz is good. We'll let you have that.
Yeah. The rest is pony, but it's been working towards that way for a little while. But it's all right. I was hopeful that Lewis might play, but the fact that he can't get in ahead of Nunes at right back says everything you need to know about Rico Lewis. He's not an asset. He's not an asset to be at in this game.
No, I think as and when you land in 33, because I guess anybody who was making their City decisions probably already made it. Although I guess, yeah, it's going to be, if you're on wildcard, you're still tempted to look up 3 City. I just wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
I'd go 2. If I was looking at other teams, I'd rather go, right, I'll go Raya, Gabriel, Saka. That'd be the 3 Arsenal, right? If I was playing towards 33. I'd rather leave the last decision for City. But I don't even know if that's going to help you that much because it will still be Everton Saturday, Villa probably Tuesday, FA Cup semi-final the Sunday afterwards. Like how many of the Fodens, Savinhos, Doku's, Grealish's, De Bruyne's, and Oscar Bobby's back now as well. It was nice to see he came on as a late substitute. How many of them are going to start both those games in a double? And what
No,
have
they're
they
not.
shown you? We coming into game week 31. What have any of them? This is not to discredit Bob, who might actually end up being the solution, by the way. What have any of those others shown you to make you think I want to go there? If I had to go, want to go Savinho because of like at least it's like a cheaper value. Something like Kluivert to Savinho wouldn't be like a move that I would totally rule out. If I had to go 3, I'd probably go Savinho, but I don't love it. He scored like twice this season.
Yep.
Great, he got an assist against Leicester. I'm pleased for you.
Newcastle 2, Brentford 1. Did you know, James, Brian Bomo has more points this season in FPL than Alexander Isak? Helped, I think, by the fact that he's a midfielder and Isak did miss a couple of games. But
Staggering. Is that right?
yeah, And Boma's on
Wow.
187 points this season so far now. Isak's only on 177. I mentioned that because he just ticks along. And I think once the double is announced for Mboma, and it will definitely be after game week 33, they're running with United, Ipswich, Fulham, Wolves, plus the extra game with Forest. I think I'm going to be looking at trying to get Brian Mboma back in for that run-in period, potentially. Newcastle, we know the obvious interest in them with the double coming up and the assets that they got available.
Bukayo team, before people get excited, there's no guarantee of a double. There's every chance the
Oh,
game's going
yeah,
to stay
okay.
in 34,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, true.
I would say that when I wildcard in game week 34, there is no chance I don't put him back in for that final run. Even at Nottingham Forest away in 34 might not look that attractive, but he's got to go in. United, Ipswich, Wolves, Fulham to finish with as well.
Yeah.
It's fine. He's going in. And if there was a double in there, then it's just double down. To be honest, I'd really be looking at Visser over that period at the
As
end as
well,
well.
to add,
Yeah,
to be clear.
it might be that I would set up something like Cunha against Leicester in 34, particularly if the Forest game didn't go in there and then go right. Cunha's going to City 35. I'm going to go Cunha to Visser. See that sort of move in advance now. I'll probably be looking at a defensive one as well, be it Flecken or Collins probably.
Yep.
Just stick them in, say, yeah, that's fine as a little rotation and cover for the end of the season. So it'll be really interesting. Those who don't have Bumo like me though have suffered enough with the FOMO this season. I'm not shoving him in ahead of Chelsea and Arsenal.
Yeah, now's not the right timing, but yeah.
It is worth saying one of the managers we didn't mention for potential manager bonus this week is Thomas Frank, home to Chelsea. It's their
They've got
derby.
good record against Chelsea as well, haven't they? Normally
It's
at
one
the
of their
bridge,
derby
but yeah.
games. They do, yes. They have had a decent record against Chelsea. Chelsea obviously only have a 3-day turnaround having played tonight. And whatever you think about my team, it probably will be a physically demanding game, I imagine, for Chelsea tonight. And there'll be certain things like if Reece James starts tonight, he probably won't start on Sunday. I think Maressa kind of made that clear with some of his comments yesterday. You might have a few players that maybe are subs tonight, like Madueke or Jackson, maybe if he doesn't start, who they then try and build up the fitness a little bit more on Sunday. Be tough for Chelsea on Sunday. Do you know what? Thinking about it, I mean, I guess it's something to answer tomorrow once you've seen Chelsea tonight, and if they're struggling a little bit fitness wise at the end. But arguably, if you were chasing the bonus this week, maybe it's Frank.
Well, you didn't mention
at least you know what you get from Brentford.
I think I prefer Frank to any of the others you mentioned earlier, Potter. Or...
Do you know what? Thinking about it, it's probably right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chelsea would always give you a chance. You feel like they concede goals in most of the games. It is a big game for Chelsea in the sense they've got a period here where they've got a tough schedule at the end, where they've got to stay in contention, obviously, with City and Newcastle in terms of trying to catch Forest and staying in that top 5. So it's certainly, it's an important game for Chelsea. What I mean, it's not like they're going to go, oh, well, we've got the Conference League Thursday, we're going to rotate for the sake of rotating. I'm saying they might have to, is basically what I'm saying. So, yeah, I guess it probably, ask me tomorrow and I might well say Frank would be the one I'd punt. But with Frank, you'd definitely be moving it on because you wouldn't be keeping it for a single fixture away to Arsenal in 32. So, yeah, Brentford, I want to come back to and have a look further at later in the season. Be really interesting. Newcastle's all the rage, isn't it? But as said, I think if you were free hitting, money, no object, 3 Newcastle players in 32, you'd go Trippier, Gordon, Isak, wouldn't you?
Yes. If they were all fit, all flagged.
All flagged. And you know that Eddie Howe's going to be nice and clear and give you loads of clarity tomorrow. To be fair, he probably won't. And it's 3 days till they play Leicester because the game's on Monday anyway. So I don't think you're going to get a lot. I think we're going to see them in training over the weekend and see how they are.
See how they are. Usual.
Yeah. And obviously with the game being Monday, you're not going to get anything ahead of the deadline from that perspective. So, but those are the ones. I certainly wouldn't be moving Isak on. I think I probably will still captain him, I think. I need to genuinely be concerned not to. I don't think I'll buy Gordon this week, but I do think he'll play.
You think he'll be all right?
I think he'll play. You see Harvey Barnes, how angry he was with Isak with the disallowed goal. proper raging, Alex. Like Isak beat his man once. He just had to square it to Barnes, and then Isak took the piss and beat him again, and then played it across, and Barnes was offside. It was a pretty bad error from Isak, who then scored pretty much straight away afterwards, and all was forgiven. Yeah, I think Gordon would probably come in for Barnes. Jacob Murphy offers a really good
I was
enabling
about to mention his name.
option.
Like I think at his price, and he's started every game for how long now? I think since game week 14, he's started every single game.
Yeah, particularly if you're running through and without the free hit, you look at Leicester, double, Villa 33, maybe bench, and then obviously playing Ipswich at home 34. So cover's nice. And obviously any week you didn't want to play him, just leave him on the bench. You can at his sort of value. I don't mind it. If it's straight choice though, I would, because of what's coming up, Leicester and the two fixtures, where I could find the extra for Gordon, I would. But I realise that's easier said than done for people. And the distance between them two is far greater than, say, Eze to Sarr. Right? Eze Sarr feels more comparable. With Gordon, you are paying 2 extra odd million for Murphy.
Yeah.
But if Gordon is given the thumbs up, I would do it. I guess, though, there is a chance he's just a substitute on Monday. But I do think he'd be great for 32 with the two home games. Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, it doesn't massively excite me, Anthony Gordon. I think I'd rather go Murphy for the stability. And then I know if I leave him there for the rest of the season, he'll do what he'll do. I'll have to plot my path out with that additional Newcastle player. I'll definitely get one of the defensive ones. Yeah. Should we talk about Southampton 1, Palace 1? You didn't want to back Southampton to get anything out of this at home because every time you did, they let you down. But this
so
time,
many times this year, I think
when I
we'll get
saw
a
him
point.
go 1-up, I was thinking James be kicking himself. Should have bet on it. And obviously, this Palace have come back with a late equaliser here. Those that have really gone all in on Palace with the double and maybe the double, probably the double, looking at this thinking, oh, should I shit myself because it's gone a little bit wrong, but not yet. The next game is the rivalry game, isn't it? The M23 derby. So they'll be well up for that home fixture. I think you can just put this one out of mind.
Yeah, interestingly as well, I was thinking this at the end because the Palace players go over to their fans in the corner in the away end, and pretty much the whole of the Palace away end is stayed and they're clapped. And you got to remember they had a really positive result of Fulham in the cup quarter final. They've been on a good run. They've got a semi-final to look forward to. Their league results aren't actually important. They're not going to qualify for Europe first
as well
in the league.
In the end. Remember, this wasn't a loss.
But I was thinking, how many clubs in the league at the moment? This isn't criticism, by the way. It's just I think where the club's at this moment in a positive light. How many clubs away fans would stay behind and clap the team off after drawing at Southampton at the moment? I was thinking it won't be many. I don't think your fans would be doing that. My fans wouldn't be doing it.
No.
Wouldn't be many. And I just think that's what I'm trying to emphasize is not a criticism of them. It's just the fact that it's what you said. It's like, it don't matter. And everything's quite positive at the moment. Saturday against Brighton is the one that will matter more to the fans. Like the weekend game against Fulham mattered more. That's not saying investing Palace players was a mistake. It absolutely was not, right? And there are still loads to choose from there. Henderson, Munoz, I think Lacroix, if you need an enabling one at the moment. Eze, Sarr, Mateta. I mean, there were opportunities to score last night. Mateta's hit the bar in like the first minute. And actually, Ramsdale made a really good save from him later in the first half as well. Eze had a decent chance in the second half. I can't believe that literally none of them returned, though. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Whoever you went for, blanked. Didn't matter. Because nobody was going Matthias França, was they?
No.
Who is, by the way, a future Ballon d'Or winner, as we well know, because it's written into his contract. What was it? Is written into his contract?
I don't remember.
Wasn't it
Go
like
on, tell me.
some stupid bonus if you won a Ballon d'Or or something?
Oh, really? At Palace.
Yeah.
Ballon.
Yeah, I forget exactly I forget
D'Ors.
exactly what it was, but it was some sort of bonus if you won a Ballon d'Or. I think it's been well documented. I think it's worth saying Munoz was taken off towards the end. I think that's just saving him. I think it almost emphasises what last night was for Palace. I think same with Mateta. He's obviously disappointed. He's blanked. He's come off after 58 minutes. They're thinking about what's next as well. So I wouldn't be concerned, is Nketiah going to play for Mateta at the weekend? I don't think anyone is thinking that, but if you are, don't worry about it. It should be fine. I think Sarr's place in the team is fine. Yeah, there's still loads of Palace players you can go to, but ultimately most have already probably done it in the last week. If you're on wildcarding, they're still going to be of interest. I think it's going to be Munoz or Livramento, my Gabriel replacement this week. I just can't shake the feeling that it's like I should be attacking Newcastle at this moment. That's how
Agreed.
it feels. But also, if I go Howe and Livramento, then that's my three Newcastle done. And if something happens, say Isak or Livramento, I'm in so much pain. So Munoz would give me two of each and then maybe make a final decision on 30. So maybe like I'd feel more comfortable about Gordon and going, yeah, do you know what? I'm not worried about 33. I'm just going to put Gordon in for 32. So probably between those two, I think Munoz is worth paying the extra for Lacroix. Just mention him as an option if people are kind of struggling for funds. Henderson's a decent option. I'm always quite critical of him, but their defensive numbers are good. I actually think he was really unlucky on the goal. If he keeps it out, it's one of the saves of the season, actually. I don't think he even has a right to get down that low to actually get a hand on it. Yeah, it's one to just kind of put under the carpet for Palace. For Southampton, they so nearly beat Derby's record. Don't worry, they will on Sunday because I'll have my tickets for that one as well. What am I going to do now, Suj? Am I going to predict Southampton to get a result on Sunday? Because when I do, they always lose.
No,
I
no,
don't think I can.
you can't. You know you're
Just
going
on
to go there
Tottenham,
and probably win.
because I mean we'll talk Tottenham a little bit tomorrow. We'll talk the game tonight tomorrow with Clates on the wildcard chip talk pod. But I know people are going to ask about Tottenham, and I do get it, particularly if you're on wildcard. You're like, I'm wildcarding, and there's a team playing at home with Southampton. I'm going to have none of their players. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow. But my advice, if you were pinning me right now, would be please avoid that. I do think Tottenham will rotate nearly the whole team on Sunday.
Yep. Cool. Let's talk about Liverpool one. Oh, sorry, just on this Mateus França, James. The clause is not in his contract in terms of he doesn't get a bonus if he wins a Ballon d'Or.
It's the old club, is it?
It's a sell-on clause. So I think they paid a fee of like 17 point something million. The sell-on clause, there's an additional 8.6 million payable in transfer fee for him, of which 4.3 million extra is if he goes on to win the Ballon d'Or.
You've definitely just read something. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, it's on the transfer fee. It's not on in his contract that he gets a bonus if he wins the Ballon d'Or. It's if he goes on to be a great player, Palace have to pay more for him. But obviously, that'll be fine because if he goes on to win the Ballon d'Or, I'm sure they're going to sell him for a lot more than they got, or they've got a lot more for him than they paid. Liverpool 1, Everton 0. Liverpool 74% possession, like absolute domination from a football point of view. 3 times as many passes completed as Everton as expected. However, James, Everton 2 big chances. Liverpool only 1.
Yeah, Everton can feel a little bit unlucky.
I thought Everton would give them a bit of a tough game. I predicted a 1-1 in this. It wasn't too far off in the end, but I mean, Liverpool doing what champions do at the end of the day. So, you know.
Beto in the first half obviously had a goal disallowed, which is correct. It's obviously it's offside, but not by a lot. And then misses this brilliant 1v1 chance, which was a car crash moment because Canate cut out a header and then sits on his arse rather than getting up and trying to get back in position. Decore then plays the worst through ball to Beto that is not in front of him and he has to stop. And because he stops and Beto has to trap it, Van Dijk thinks he's got him. Van Dijk ends up taking an air shot and Beto's through 1-on-1 and it's the post. Just an all-round bad moment. So yeah, it would have been interesting. If Everton had scored first, they might have won, you know. I know he didn't have a lot of the ball, but I mean, they were quite happy with their lot.
So hard to break down.
Yeah, they would have been happy with a draw. You'd understand nearly anybody would go into Anfield. Didn't create a lot after the goal, but I think Liverpool worried. I don't think Liverpool fans at half time would have been thinking, this is great. We've had loads of the ball. I think they'd been thinking, this ain't right. You know, it reminded me of at half time. I thought about this, and this isn't to compare the two teams at all, but with what Liverpool had losing to PSG and in the Carabao Cup final to Newcastle, it reminded me of something Arsenal went through a little bit in 2004, where it was clear they were going to win the title, like it is now with Liverpool. And they lost to Chelsea in the Champions League, and they lost the FA Cup semi-final to Manchester United. And it just around that, the games felt quite deflated and flat, and they weren't themselves. Plus, in Arsenal's case, in fairness, they was obviously going for the invincible seasons. So we're kind of in the running. They were even happy with draws, right? It was like, just don't get beat in the running. But it did remind me a bit like that it's like there's actually, in a weird way, struggling for confidence. Arsenal fans will remember the day Henry scored the brilliant goal against Liverpool on Good Friday in that season, and they were 2-1 down, and people were saying, are they actually going to fall apart? And at that point, they hadn't lost the game, by the way,
Yeah.
in the league. People were saying, could they still not win it, even though they haven't lost yet? Because something felt not right, and actually didn't feel right with Liverpool last night. So to get the win, I think just shifts the mindset and the confidence. But as I said, I wouldn't be surprised to get turned over at Fulham at the weekend.
Yeah. Do you know one
I feel like they're kind of meandering towards the end now. They know they've got it won.
They have, but I don't know, James. Like one of the narratives that's going around at the moment that I don't like is when people say, "Great, Liverpool going to win the title." It's been easy because everyone else has been shit. So it's not like they've had much pressure on them or anything
Liverpool
like that.
deserve to win.
I
No
hate that
question.
narrative. No, but the thing is, James, they've lost one game all season.
Yeah.
If they win all their games between now and the end of the season, they'll have racked up 97 points. It's actually harder to keep that momentum when you don't have pressure, when you know you've got
Correct.
to win every week. And so people say, oh, well, no one's put pressure on them. It's been easy. Well, they've lost one game all season. It's
But
not
that's what I'm
like
saying.
they've been...
This is a big difference. This is generally is a fantasy thing to think about here, because I think my point would be, if Arsenal were 2 points behind Liverpool and you said, right, well, how many games do you think Liverpool win between now and the end of the season out there? I'd go probably 7. That's the sort of return I expect. I don't think they will win that many in the running, because they don't need to.
But the evidence, just because they don't need to, they haven't needed to win their last few games. The other thing I would add is they've got nothing else anymore, James. They've got 8 games left this season. They've got no Europe, they've got no FA Cup. Obviously, Carabao Cup's done and dusted. They've got 8 games, right? So it's like, what are you going to do? Just play your 8 best games, win 30 out of your 38 games, rack up 97 points. Off we go. Like, they've got some tough games in there, sure. The difference is that maybe I don't see them racking up 4s and 5s and 6s. They'll get through 1-0, 2-0, whatever. And the one game they lost was, ironically, to Forest at home, 1-0, with that kind of counter-attacking goal from Hudson-Odoi. I can see them winning all their games we've seen now in the end of the season. Do I see them racking up big scores, 4s, 5s, 6s? Probably not. But yeah, I think they deserve, rather than saying they deserve credit, they don't deserve credit because no one else has put pressure on them. It's been an easy league to win. They've kept the pressure on themselves. But 90 points is no joke if they get even to that, which allows them to drop 7 points. So
yeah, there's every chance they will, by the way. I'm just saying, I think they know that it's in their pocket and are not at 100%. And I also think there is a bit of fatigue kicking in. And it's not just for them. I think it's a lot of teams. Bournemouth, another one. I mean, it's beginning to kick in. And I think if you feel you're comfortable, I just think psychologically you're a couple of percent lower. And if you are a couple of percent lower in this league against anyone, you're in a little bit of danger. And I think you saw that. I'm not saying Liverpool were under 100% last night, but I think they might be moving forward. But I do also think the narrative might shift where it's like, right, at least the Newcastle and the PSG defeats apart now. But I'll ask you then, you think they could win every game left? They may well do so. Which Liverpool players are of interest to you in FPL?
Mo Salah.
Well done.
I'd say Kanate, just because I don't feel like I want to pay the premium for Van Dijk.
So dull, wasn't it?
And maybe Jota, but I'm not adding, like I said, as much as I see him winning every game, I'm not like thinking they're going to steamroller a lot of teams. So yeah, Mo Salah still, and then the others. I think the other teams that have got more to play for, that Fulham, West Ham, Leicester, Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, then Brighton, Palace. Yeah, I can see them at least winning 6 of those 8 between now and the end of the season.
Kanate is potentially a good one for bench boosters for 33 as well.
Yeah,
it's Leicester again, so you'd expect something. One is to probably be part of your bench, subject to what you've got in 33. I guess he's worth considering as a Gabriel replacement.
His price, not bad.
I was hoping that Conor Bradley would get something last minute in terms of minutes to make me think he might be back for the weekend and have some interest in that. We don't quite know how long Trent will be out, but I suspect it might be the rest of this month. So if you're holding on and hoping that he's back, Suj, I think it's going to be a while. Not that Arne Slot's put a timeline on it yet. The others, Jota, Diaz, Gakpo, Nunes, it's of no interest at the moment, is it?
No. And if you own any Everton assets with their fixtures coming up now, it's awful. You got Arsenal, Forest, City, Chelsea. By the time you get to 34 and you're coming in for the run-in of the last 4 all day long. They might be able to help you. Ipswich, Fulham, Southampton. Last day, Newcastle ain't great, but the rotation that you mentioned coming out in 34, 35 might be useful to have. But
Yeah,
right now,
when I wild card at the end, and I think anybody wild cards across 34, 35 will have a look at Everton.
yep,
I think at the moment it's a no.
they're enablers in their rotation, right? It's not your premium assets there. So Pickford even.
It was 35 minutes into the game last night where I realised I was a Jordan Pickford owner. Genuinely forgot. And actually was getting second half. I was thinking, what's better for me here? Is it Salah returning? I wondered, I was like, if Salah gets a penalty, is it better for Pickford to save it? Or is it Salah, even though
Probably.
Captain Salah? I
Surely
was like,
it's better for Pickford to
I
save
was like,
it
yeah,
with
it's
the
better if Pickford
effective
saves,
ownership.
isn't it? So I'm now watching the game thinking, don't even want my captain to do anything here, actually. He,
Salah
he
was
had a
nearly
quiet night.
close to 176% EO. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, you had him as captain, so he'd probably still have been worth something for you. But Pickford would have been way lower than that in terms of EO. Cole
If,
Palmer's down to 34%. Wow.
if, who are you captain this week in 31? What's your plan?
Very good question, James. I looked at it. I'll probably captain Salah.
Do you think?
No, Isak. If Isak's fit, I've got to go Isak, surely.
Yeah, the concern is they go, well, it's Leicester. Could he be a sub? That's all that's lingering away. Otherwise, I'm definitely going Isak if I feel comfortable with it. Otherwise, it probably is default to Salah, isn't it? The alternatives don't feel great,
It's
do
not great.
they?
It's
Like
not great.
Marmoush at United.
No, no. If nothing else, Amarim's shown for the big games he can set his team up. I think he's got a number on Pep, so I think City will win, but I wouldn't want to bet on it. Put it that way. So no Marmoush for me. Isak followed by Salah. Look, Salah's just blanked. He doesn't do that often. 2 games in a row,
Do you know
mate.
what people will want to do? I'm just trying to think about a scenario. Let's say Isak was ruled out. People going, James, can we get Solanke in and captain him on something?
Do you know how many times Mo Salah has blanked 2 games in a row this season, James?
Once.
Once. That was Forest and Brentford. Other than that, he hasn't blanked 2 games in a row all season. So
Yeah, and just a reminder,
you know what's coming.
yeah, it's an away game, and he's returned big in plenty of challenging away games. And yes, I do think Sunday they might drop points, but yeah, if I haven't got the confidence in Isak and his minutes on Monday, I probably am unfortunately just going to default to Mo Salah, I think. But yeah, I probably am going to have to take him on with a doubles 32, 33. Just an interesting one. If Isak was ruled out, 31, 32. And by the way, we're not suggesting this is the case. But if he was and Gordon wasn't available, do you captain Salah against West Ham, or would you go a different Newcastle player, or would you go like a Mateta in the Palace double?
Probably go Mateta.
I'd
I'll
go
probably go Mateta.
I'd go Palmer against Ipswich. Maybe.
Well, I want to see something from Palmer to just check that he's fit and 100%. But yeah,
We must talk about the challenge. Sorry. Mind boggled how that wasn't a red card on James Tarkowski last night.
I didn't see it, so cannot
He
comment.
the ball breaks and it's one of them. It would have been fine in the 80s, mate, where he's kicked through the ball, and then as he kicks through, he lifts. But so he cleared the ball like 40 yards up the pitch. He kicks through and he lifts up both his legs. He knows what he's doing and goes straight into McAllister. Where he catches McAllister was extremely unlucky not to end up with a very serious injury. That is overly aggressive. If you watch it again, watch. Are you just watching it now? Yeah, it's one of them. The fact that he's won the ball is actually irrelevant. There's an angle of it that's from behind McAllister. Look at James Tarkowski's face. It's really bad. James Tarkowski he's got his face screwed up as if he's about to punch someone in the face. He knows exactly what he's doing. His whole body is like tense and aggressive. He's gone in. Yeah, he thinks he's going to get away with it because he's done the ball. He knows. I don't know if he quite meant to catch McAllister as badly as he did, but he knew he was going to take ball and he was going to put his opponent up in the air. And I don't think that's on in 2025 if you're making any tackle with intent to hurt an opponent. And
Just
McAllister was lucky. That's bad. I'm pleased for the game that he didn't get sent off because it was 10 minutes.
Tarkovsky was lucky to not get a red card, mate. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. I totally understand. By the way, it was a young referee last night, refereed the game absolutely fine. I understand the referee on one look not getting that right. Paul Tierney was on VAR, he's an experienced referee. I don't get that. And I don't want to see players sent off because I wouldn't have wanted to watch Liverpool play 10-man Everton last night. But if a red card's a red card, it's a red card. And the fact he plays the ball there is irrelevant. He has intent to hurt the opponent. For me, that's a red card.
Good, good, good. James, there's a wrap on all the games. Should we cover off some of the questions that we've had? And we've had very few questions in, probably because we're so shite at asking them. Guess what the question that is asked by about 4 people out of the 6 that have asked questions is Arsman 31 to 33. I think we've covered that off. The only thing we didn't talk about earlier was Thomas Frank as an option for the first game if you really wanted to chase table bonus. I do like that. For me, though, I'd be going safe. I'd be going safe.
Yeah, to repeat what I'd said earlier, I think I'll be going Howe twice and then Arteta. Or if I get to that point and I'm uncomfortable with Arteta, then I may chase a different bonus, such as Ange against Nottingham Forest, as mentioned. I don't think there'd be many others bonus wise that'd be knocking about that'd be great in 33 specifically, or obviously jump it to a different doubler so you can go Guardiola instead, or then go for Emery will have at least, in fact Emery might not even have no bonus in 33, right? He probably won't.
Yeah, that'd be frustrating.
Emery's probably lost his bonus completely. At least with Glasner, you'll have the City, Newcastle, Arsenal away games, but yeah, I think it was always a case, and I get like people looking at Potter because we'd identified this when the game started. It was like, or when we got the rules, it was like, you want to attack teams like Forest. You don't really want to be attacking the bonus because well, they're away to Arsenal or they're away to Man City. Those aren't really the games, it's the home games. If Palace had those 3 really tough games and they were all at home, even though their away record is good, I'd want to chase it more. The fact the games were at Selhurst. One of the reasons Palace away record is so good this season is because they haven't been to City, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal. That's part of the relevance of this. And there's a high probability, I mean, it is likely that Palace lose those 4 games. And then with Brighton and Bournemouth now not being bonuses, don't want it. Don't want it, I'm afraid. So I think, yeah, it'd be Howe for me, 2 games, then Arteta. That's the plan as it stands.
And the only other question, James, to cover off, who is your Gabriel replacement? I think it's very dependent on chip strategy. So obviously Newcastle firmly on radar because of their 32 double. If you haven't got Munoz, I think that's an easy shout to go to Munoz. If you've got the coverage of those already, then what we mentioned earlier in Konate might be an interesting one, or Lewis Dunk. Anyone else you'd add to that list of people that have already had a mention?
There's the move to Saliba. That's the only Arsenal player I would consider. And I think for many, they'll go. I mean, Saliba's minutes, despite the Real Madrid games, you feel like he's got to play. I wouldn't take a chance on Kieran or Timber. So if people insist on, particularly if you don't want to piss about with your goalkeeper, imagine you're in a situation where you got Henderson as an example. You're not going to piss about with your goalkeeper. So if you don't go Saliba, you are probably going, I'm going to have no Arsenal double. Defense for the double,
which
so
is all right.
Drawn to that,
just because without Gabriel they aren't as defensively solid. So I don't think there's that desperation to they're still good, but I don't feel the need to cover it off 100%. Like if Timber was injured, I'd still want to get an Arsenal defender. With Gabriel out, they definitely aren't as strong.
I don't think there's anything in game week 33 I would consider as a must from any of the teams, actually. I think there's loads of stuff that could be taken on from all of them, which hopefully makes the game week a little bit more interesting than other doubles have perhaps been in the past. So Gabriel Saliba is fine. Trippier is fine, but comes with the yellow flag warning that is obviously there. I think Livramento over Burn just about. You'd be so gutted if Burn got booked twice. That'd be horrendous. But I do think, although it didn't show on the data last night, I do think Burn is the more likely of the 2 to score. I think.
Yeah, Livramento is probably the more likely of the 2 to assist.
Correct. Goes the other way.
Works both ways.
And Livramento probably more chance of a bonus from that perspective as well. And obviously, if you don't have Munoz, that's an option. But I think if you don't have Newcastle, that's probably where to go this week specifically. And obviously, if you think you're going to come back and move something else to an Arsenal defender in 33, do it that way, would be the advice. Because then you might feel comfortable that, right, Kivior's played all the games since. I can save a million on Saliba there and use that million for something else. So I think for me, it's going to be Livramento or Munoz. And I accept most people have already got Munoz. I accept some people will have both. Under that circumstance, it probably is just Gabriel to Saliba, I guess. If you've got all of them, I mean, is that possible? Gabriel, Saliba, I suppose then it's Vardy.
Yeah,
And I do think
yeah.
he'll play as a more aggressive left back on Sunday against Manchester United.
Okie dokie, James.
I got, I
That's
got, I got one from
Go
Blue
on. You
Sky. I
got
want
Blue
to do.
Sky.
Yeah, this is from FPL Snick Snack. Is Foden a sell?
Yeah,
Nah.
yeah. Um, there are hundreds of situations in the past where you hold on to a player for what might be in the future, and you miss what's right in front of you right now. Newcastle's double. Newcastle got Leicester, then the double before Foden's potentially got a double in 33. You could say Gordon was ruled fit. Like you could move Foden to Gordon and get 3 fixtures during that time where you've not even got a guarantee that Foden's even going to get any minutes. I think it's very difficult to answer a question like that without knowing someone's full team. But I would say, like, where are you moving it to? Because even you could move to Eze or Sarr, and they've got 3 fixtures before Foden's double. You don't even know Foden's going to play any of the next two. Those guys could score points that you would ignore because of something that might happen in 3 game weeks time. I don't like that. I think look at what's closer in front of you. There are enough good options that I would get rid of Phil Foden. Don't hang on just because of what might be in the future.
Despite
That's
what
my
despite what I've said about him and other City assets, I would keep him this week.
And play him
Yes, yes.
against Manchester United.
I think he will start on Sunday. Less confident about what happens afterwards, but I think he probably does start on Sunday. I'd hold for that and then make an assessment of after. If you feel shit about it, like on Monday or this time next week ahead of 32, it'd be so easy to go to a Palace or a Newcastle player, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't. I've not owned Phil Foden. I'm not seeing anything from him that makes him interesting either. So, but ultimately, got to make your choice.
Also, think if you don't have Palmer or Saka and you want to get to one of them, it's probably not this week. I think you're better off having a bit more info on Saka.
Oh, if I owned Foden and Saka, I'd just do it. He came through fine from that game.
So
Everton,
you would go Foden to Saka this week?
yeah.
No.
If like it depends. Obviously, it's a very circumstantial based kind of point, right? It depends who else are you selling. What have you got? What are you going to do with the money in the bank? It's a good million and a bit more maybe to get there. But
Also,
Saka will score points against Everton. Foden might not even play. I don't need that headache in my
Saka might
life.
not start either. I said you
Yeah,
Craig
true.
suggested he's not convinced he'll start. Arsenal's the early kickoff Saturday as well, so you might get the lineup if it's leaked properly.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not big on Phil Foden, but just don't. My point. Don't overlook the points that are in front of you right now for thinking I'll keep Foden because I want him for a double in 33, where again he might not even play twice.
If you invested in him, you didn't make him a commitment just for Leicester. Surely you knew that as he'd started at Bournemouth on Sunday in the
He
cup,
might
there
have
was a
been
chance he
lingering
wasn't going to
around for a
start.
while.
Yeah, it might be, but it might also be that Guardiola's decided, right, Foden's in my best 11 now. He started at Bournemouth at the weekend. I think structurally they line up at Manchester United in more similarly to how they lined up at Bournemouth than what they lined up last night. I'd be keeping him this week and making the decision afterwards,
Okay.
but I wouldn't be buying him.
Listeners, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/Planet FPL. It helps keeps the lights on. You get access to our Slack community. You get access to James's fixture planning spreadsheet, prize leagues, additional content, a whole bunch of other stuff as well. You may want to support the show, patreon.com/Planet FPL. If not, then just leave us a nice review wherever you are listening, whether it's Apple or Spotify or Google Podcasts or SoundCloud or whatever it may be. Those reviews go a long way. On YouTube, subscribe. If you like the show, you'll get notified as soon as additional content goes out. Hit the thumbs up. Tune in tomorrow to a chip special looking at Wildcard 31, where James will have to come and face the music after being at Chelsea. You never know. You might win, mate. You never know.
I'm so used to getting beaten there. It's just, I'm numb to it now, mate.
Yeah. But yes, do it. And we'll love to have you subscribe to the show over there as well. Stay safe, though, in the meantime. Look after yourselves. Ciao for now.
Thanks, everyone. Be nice to each other. Play it your way. Cue music, please. Man child.